We're live if you want to go ahead and share. What is going on, Tiger fans? Guess what? We are 1 week away from spring football practice. I am Zach Lentz, host of Clemson.com show, joined by Brad Singiff, Jason Priester, Freeman Steyer, and Owen Larson. Guys, say hey.
Hey.
Good evening.
What's up, guys?
Good evening.
That's right. Yeah, we're
Shout out to Kevron. Always
That's
glad
right.
to see him on here.
That's right. Yeah, good to see you, Kevron. Thanks so much for joining in. As always, if you want to join the conversation, you can comment below on any of our channels. We're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. We'd be glad to get you in the show. But, guys, we're 1 week away from spring football practice. Does it seem real? I mean, it's great right now.
It seems like the season just ended a couple weeks ago, and here we back are at the beginning of it again.
Yes, we are. But hopefully a little bit less COVID restrictions and stuff like that going on. Everybody is out there staying safe, so hopefully we can get back to some sense of normalcy. But, guys, we have a jam-packed show tonight before we hit in spring practice next week. So let's start off first with Brad. Do you think someone's going to have a big season this year?
I think this player is going to have a big season, but I also think he's going to skyrocket when it comes to the NFL draft. And this might surprise some people, but I think Darian Kendrick puts it all together this year and ends up being a first-round draft pick in the 2022 NFL draft. And here's my reasoning, Zach, before you try to shoot down everything I'm about to lay out. Before they made the announcement back in January who was entering the draft, DK was listed by not one but multiple mock drafts as a potential first-round pick. So somebody out there, I didn't agree with it, but somebody out there thought he was a first-round pick.
Yeah, somebody in his mom's basement. I mean, come on.
No.
Take these things for what they're worth. I mean, come on.
Quit. No, don't even start poo-pooing all the mock drafts out there. Those guys make hard living just like you do, Zach. Don't even begin to start putting them in their basement where it looks like you are right now. So, listen. So, DK was already projected to be a first-round draft pick, right? He decided not to go. He decided not to take the chance. I don't know if the NFL advisory board had a different idea of his stock or what, but something got him to come back for another season. And I think that someone is Dabo Swinney and probably Brent Venables. I think there's some parts of his game he's clearly needs to get better at. But
like covering people and tackling people and playing the ball.
Tackling helps. Tackling is a skill that he needs to work on.
He's only been playing the position for a couple years, though, Zach.
Exactly. Plus, if people already thought of him as a first-round draft pick, if he has a big season this year, he's a no-brainer first-round draft pick.
Exactly. Well, I think I made it clear how I feel, guys. I mean, back me up on this. DK spent the majority of this past season in Dabo's Love Shack. What makes you think he's going to be a better season than last year?
He's one of those guys that I think, he didn't play the position coming into college. He's incredibly athletic. He's one of those guys that a team that doesn't really, maybe a Super Bowl contender could look at and say, I'll take him just in the potential to take him.
Yeah, but in the first round, I mean, come on, the first round is reserved for people
he's also got a much better team in the secondary, especially around him this year. He has the speed, but not just the speed, the hands of a wide receiver playing corner. If he can fine-tune the small things, like you said, like tackling and breaking in on the ball and becoming more of a lockdown corner, I think he does have a chance to play himself. Maybe not into the first round, but the second or third at least.
We've seen defensive backs go very high in the draft, like middle of the first round, even late first round, based simply on their potential. Guys who flashed in college but necessarily weren't always the most technically sound on every snap. So there's been quarterbacks who are probably worse than DK athletically go higher than what you're saying.
Jason, back me up on this one. I know you have my back.
No, not on this one. I'm with Brad, man. I think Kendrick's definitely got first-round potential, man. I thought he looked like a guy this season that kind of played with one foot out the door, maybe leaning towards leaving for the NFL. And I don't know what it was that changed his mind that made him decide to come back. But whatever it was.
It's Love Shack, baby. I mean, come on.
I was as surprised as anybody that he came back. I had him gone, even after he teased coming back on some of his social media accounts. I thought he was just blowing smoke. But yeah, for him to come back, that tells me he's coming back with one goal in mind, and that's to play his way up the draft boards higher than the grade he got back this year. I could totally see him playing his way into the first round next year. But I'm with you as far as he's got to get better at the tackling and stuff. But to me, I thought a lot of that this year looked like effort.
Yeah, well, all four of y'all are wrong on this one. I'll stand by myself on this one. He is not going to play his way to the first round. Jason, switching gears. I mean, the baseball team kicks off play this Friday. You have some bold predictions about this baseball team.
For the first time since 2010, this team's going to get out of a regional. It's been a long time coming. It's been too long. Clemson baseball used to be one of the, more well-known nationally programs in the country. They were nationally relevant. Over the past decade, they haven't been that. I think this year they take their first step towards getting back to that. They've got the pitching to do it. If they can get a couple of things to go their way, get the right lineup and score 4, 5, 6 runs a game, I think the ceiling for this baseball team is extremely high. Pitching wins championships, and this team's got the pitching. I think this team definitely gets out of the regional round this year.
Yeah, I'm
point about the pitching. But here's the thing, though, Jason. They got to get to a regional first. And I think what would be very important for them is not hosting. I think they need to get out of Clemson. I know when they went out to Ole Miss, they got absolutely smoked in that one. But I don't know. Being at home just does not seem to fit them in these regionals. Monty Lee has struggled with that. We've seen that in his first few years alone. Maybe this year they've got the pitching to do it, but I am concerned about their offense. Who's going to be the power bats to go up there and drive in those key runs, Jason, in this 8th or 9th inning of a regional game when you got to have them? Who is it? Who's the guy?
They got to find a way to score. They definitely got to find a way to score 4, 5, 6 runs a game. Like I said, I don't know who that guy is going to be. I think David Sharp's going to be one of those guys. I think Jonathan French can be one of those guys, and I think Caden Grice is going to be one of those guys at times. I think he's going to strike out a lot, but I think he's going to hit some home runs too, and he might hit some clutch home runs.
Well, if the pitching is as good as advertised with 2 freshmen starting on Friday, that just kind of shows how deep the bullpen is for this team going into this year. They might not have to score 6, 7, 8 every game to win. They could get away scoring 3, 4 with the amount of pitching capability that they have there for Monty Lee. So I think Monty Lee does have something to prove this year. He hasn't done it in his tenure at Clemson so far, and I think he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, especially after the shutdown last year, and they started off strong. They got a chance to start hot early against Cincinnati and South Carolina. I really like what I see from this baseball team. I'm excited for them to get started.
Yeah,
and I think so. I think so too. The teams of the last 10 years have been really top heavy. They've had a lot of big names at the top, but they haven't really had big rotations that they've been able to fill out, have hitters down the lineup, and I think that's what's really stopped them. And I think this team is a really deep team. So I agree with you. I think this could be a team that makes a push this year.
Yeah, I don't think they have a lot of superstar type names on the offense, but they got a bunch of scrappy baseball players, guys that know how to get on base, scratch across runs when you need to. And I think that's kind of what we're going to see out of this team a lot this year. Yeah, and I think one name to watch is Ryan Brewer.
Yeah.
That's the thing I want to see. Are they scrappy? Do they fight, scratch, and claw on offense and not just try to settle for a big hit every time?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm at the stage with Monty Lee and this baseball team where I'm like, prove it to me. I mean, don't just talk about it. When you haven't reached a regional round since 2010, you have to prove it ultimately. So for me, it's just about, them going out there and look, they may not win the super regional, but for them to make it out of regional round would be a big step for this team. I think that they have the potential to do it. I'm excited about seeing this pitching staff this weekend. So, I mean, but there's a long way to go in the season. The season's a long season. It's a sprint or marathon, not a sprint. So if they're going to do it, it's going to take key contributions at different times, when we can maybe hitting, when we can maybe pitching. But as Jason said, pitching will always win championships. But ultimately have to score runs to win the game, so we'll see.
Hey, Jason, what do you think of the Cincinnati series this weekend? Who you got?
I think Clemson wins at least 2 out of 3, maybe sweeps them. But I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be any expert on Cincinnati baseball.
Exactly. I was shocked they even have a baseball team, but
they're probably going to be happy to get out of that Arctic cold up there.
Probably so, but yeah. So Owen, your hot take this week was something about basketball, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is a scorching hot take, Zach. I'm interested, especially to see what you got to say about this one. But I'm not saying this basketball team is going to for sure make the Elite Eight, but they for sure have the potential. It started the season 9-1, as everybody knows. The COVID shutdown and the UVA game really hit this team in the butt. I think the Duke loss and then winning 3 out of 4 against really good blue chip schools has them back now on the right track. They're shooting the ball far better from 3, but overall throughout the season, the 3-point shooting has really been what's killing them. They rank 30th in scoring defense, but so far throughout this year, they rank pretty awful. From 3-point range, ranking 292nd and 3-point percentage per game. So if they can find a way to get some consistent shooting, Nick Honors shooting above 40% right now. If he can keep that up, Clyde Trapp keeps playing well, and Amir Sims just keeps being Amir Sims. They really got a shot to make some noise, I think.
Yeah, well, since you called me out, I'll give you my take first on this. The fact is, I mean, this team didn't handle their first COVID shutdown very well, and they're in the midst of another one right now. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a big deal for me, is how they come out of this COVID shutdown. Right now, they're supposed to be playing tonight, but that game got canceled against Notre Dame, which they may not even be able to make the trip up there because they snowed in. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, I mean, Pittsburgh game on Saturday is canceled now. So how will this team respond? How will they come back after this shutdown?
They also have a much more favorable back half of the schedule to end the season than they did when the COVID shutdown hit the first time. That was really when they started getting in the meat of some of those higher ranked teams. So I'm really hoping to see some promise from this team because the defense is special. Brunell loves his man-to-man, won't switch it for nothing most of the time. And if they keep playing this way, the way they have been the past couple of games, I expect big things from them, really.
Yeah, well, possibly so. I mean, there's a chance. I mean, they could make a run. I don't think they make it to Elite Eight. I don't think they have that kind of talent right now. I think when you talk about Elite Eight, you're talking about talented teams that can win the whole thing. I mean, every now and then you catch fire in a bucket. I mean, like South Carolina did a few years ago, but that's special. I mean, that's a unique time. I don't think this team has near the talent to do it. I think they're a tournament team. They're a good team. They're a decent team. They're probably one of his best teams he's had.
They're one of his deeper teams, to say the very least. He's got 11 guys playing 10 or more minutes so far this year, which is not usually the case on his teams.
Guys, there's a bunch of factors you're leaving out of this, okay? One, this is going to be one of the most volatile NCAA tournaments we've ever seen. I don't know if the seedings are going to be correct, because how in the world is a committee going to decide the difference between a 5 seed and a 9 seed?
Well, what better way to make it deep in the tournament than in a volatile tournament?
They get matched up with a team that looks like on paper as a 9 seed, but they're actually as good as like a 3 seed. That could happen with the volatility of this NCAA tournament. The other one is what just got brought up there by John. Can they avoid Baylor? Can they avoid Gonzaga? If they get stuck in a bracket with either one of those, forget about it.
Yep. I was going to bring that up. Yeah. I don't care how far they make it. No, I don't think anybody's beating Baylor or Gonzaga in the tournament this year. They're just too good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, here's another point. I mean, when you look at the tournament, you have to understand the records right now can be thrown out. I mean, like Brad was saying, with the seeding and stuff like that, you look at Penn State. Here's a team that has a losing record, but their strength of schedule, strength of record is one of the best in the nation. In fact, the net is in his 40s, high 40s for them. So, I mean, there's a –
teams are. We just simply don't know. And it's going to be played out on the courts in Indianapolis and not with these projections and these bubble and bracket things. It's going to be played out because I'm telling you, there are going to be some teams that are going to be way, way underseeded. You're going to be like, oh, my gosh, how did that team get all the way to the Elite Eight? Maybe Clemson's one of those. We'll see. But I would put my money on it right now.
Exactly. If you want to put some money on 16 being a 1 this year, it's probably a good year to do it.
Yeah.
Jason, what are you going to say?
I wouldn't put my money on it either. I think this team's good enough to get to the tournament and win a game, maybe 2. It'll all depend on the matchups, who they're matched up against. But I Elite Eight, yeah, I can't see that.
I'll stand on my island alone.
I mean, I think it's far fetched, but you have something going there. This is one of Brad Brunell's most consistent teams, and they've already gone through a COVID shutdown, so they know what it looks like to have to go through that, to have to get back and battle through it. They have some factors going for them. I mean, I think a lot of the teams in the past, they would have that big 1 or 2 wins every year, and then they would fall off after that. But this team has shown that they can beat teams night after night, and that's what they do have going for them.
Great point, Freeman.
Avoid catching COVID during the ACC tournament. Let's not forget that factor, too.
I think the made-up ACC games are going to end up playing a major role into some of the seeding teams missing out on being higher than they should have been because they missed games. You're right. It's going to be very volatile, and I have no idea how it's going to end up or where we're going to end up in the tournament. But I would hope to see one of the better performances from Brunell in the tournament this year. Possibly. Freeman,
jumping back to football, the tight ends over the past couple of years have taken a step back under Clemson's offense. You think that may change this year?
I think the tight end position is going to take a big step forward this year. You're looking at a unit that had the most yards since Jordan Leggett was here in 2016 last year. You're looking at Braden Galloway, who had his first full season as a starter and looked pretty good, showed a lot of flashes throughout the season. You have Davis Allen, who's still a guy who's putting it together. He's going to be a junior this year. I think this unit has the potential to really find a place in the offense that it hasn't been in since 2016.
Absolutely. I feel
like we do this every year. We try to hype up the tight ends. We say this is the year they're gonna blow up, and then they don't. Not since Jordan Leggett. I mean, last year was better. Okay, it was more consistent.
Where's Jalen Lay? We heard all this hype coming out of spring camp about him, how great he was. I mean, Brent Venables said he was the most athletic tight end he's ever faced, but where has he been?
He doesn't even play. I mean,
exactly. That's my point.
I just don't think that this offense is designed to use the tight end the way that people want them to. They just are. For whatever reason, Tony Elliott just isn't going to call no plays for the tight end to make people happy. I don't think they're going to emerge this year and play some major role. I do think Clemson throws the ball a lot this year. We've discussed that a little bit with DJ Ongolay back there and no Travis Etienne. I think they commit to the pass a little more, so maybe the numbers go up. But I don't think at the end of the year we're going to be talking about tight ends as making a major impact. There's just too many doggone good receivers out there to throw the ball to. Then there is, there's only one ball, guys.
Yeah, I kind of take a little bit from Brad and Freeman. I agree with you, Freeman, that the tight ends are going to be a lot better. I really like Braden Galloway. I think if he sees enough targets, he could play himself into a conversation for the John Mackey, but that's way down the road. But the side of that is I'm with Brad. I think there's just far too many good receivers that need touches so the coaches can see what they can do. For all three of these tight ends, they have Luke Price coming back, who missed all last season with the fall camp knee injury. So they'll be able to have 3-4 tight ends available. Maybe Tony Elliott likes to call a couple more 2 tight end sets. But I think they're like Brad said, there's just too much of the ball, too many players to go around for, I think, anyone else other than Braden Galloway to make a noticeable difference in the offense this year.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if you're talking about throwing the ball at Braden Galloway, that means you're not throwing it to Justin Ross, you're not throwing it to Frank Latson, you're not throwing it to John Guy, you're not throwing it to
I
EJ
think
Williams.
it's 6'4", though. He could be a good safety blanket for DJ when the going gets tough, which it might not too often during the regular season.
Possibly, but I mean, the fact is, I mean, you can't convince me that taking touches away from those guys is a good game plan for winning games. But I mean,
question. I think the offense has progressed. I think it's just changed. I just don't think what the looks that they get from defenses that they want to feature the tight end the same way they did when Deshaun Watson and Jordan Leggett were around.
Absolutely, and bringing a tight end into the game brings another player and defender into the box, which eliminates your running game. So when you're playing numbers games like that, you have to always count the defenders in the box, and playing a tight end always brings that extra defender in. So I'm not sure that's something that Tony wants to do this season.
Well, on the flip side, though, they could use that to their advantage if they can't really find a steady hand in the running game. If they want to pack the box with defenders with a couple of extra tight ends to maybe play action it out to roster one of those guys, that could be something Tony Elliott looks to do. But yeah, for the most part, I'm on the same page with you guys.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason, I was going to ask you about Jake Bringenstall, or however you say his name.
Brenningstool. That's how I say it.
That's how Bringenstall. I like that.
Hey, that's a guy with a high ceiling, man. I really like this kid. I don't know if he's, going to be come in and make that much of an impact in his first year. Tight end's a hard position to learn. Clemson asks a lot out of their tight ends, and just like any other position, they don't put guys on the field until they trust them. And I don't think Brenny Stool is going to be a guy that can make that much of an impact as a freshman, but I think he can make a big impact on this program down the line. But I'm with Brad. I think that the offense has evolved to where it's just not as reliant on the tight end as it was back in the day when Jordan Leggett was here. There's more options. The offense is just a little bit different, and I'm done with saying that this is the year the tight ends are back in the Clemson offense. Man, I was on that train before the 2020 season. I'm gonna have to see it now before I start getting back on that train again.
I hear you. When we wrap up the show tonight, I'm going to tell you my hot take, but here's the fact. The ACC screwed up again by even holding a conference tournament, basketball tournament. They've messed up their season. They should take the week of the tournament, play all these makeup games that have been postponed and delayed and canceled. They should use that for that week and not even worry about a tournament. The tournament could cost them season in the NCAA tournament. It could also cost them injuries and COVID issues. To me, the worst thing that could happen would be for a team like Virginia to come down with COVID at the ACC tournament, and they're ineligible for the NCAA tournament. So to me, the ACC has screwed themselves big time by even hosting a tournament. They should do without it and just play makeup games that week.
Yeah, they need to just see them as records.
There's only one reason they're doing a tournament, guys.
Money.
ACC tournament. It's the same reason they're doing an NCAA tournament.
So show me the money.
The ACC is not forfeiting those millions of dollars the ACC tournament is worth just for get off my lawn guy over there, Zach Lentz.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's not get off my lawn, guys. Try and protect these teams. I mean, when you talk about tournaments, you bring all these teams in together. All that have had COVID issues at some point in the season. To me, it's putting your teams in danger, not just health-wise, but for making the NCAA tournament. I mean, could you imagine if Virginia came down with COVID issues, if Clemson came down with COVID issues, if Florida State came down with those issues?
With that. It's not just going to be the ACC, and they're all willing to take that risk because they need the money that bad, guys. It's not
exactly. I mean, what's
that
tell you about these conferences? Do they care more about money or players?
Yeah, because there's not going to be any backlash either if they go out and a bunch of players. if a bunch of teams get COVID, there's not going to be a bunch of backlashes against the conferences. Nobody's going to blame the ACC.
I will. I'll stand up. I'll carry that banner. I'll gladly do that. I hate the ACC. I mean, come on.
I'll help you carry that banner, Zach. I'm with you. I think they're just pushing their luck with this tournament. Is as much as I know that there's no chance they cancel it, like Brad said, I'm with you. Just the amount of players that they're going to have in one place
no sense.
for all these different
from a safety
conferences.
standpoint.
When with all these cancellations, all they'd have to do is just seed these teams as the regular season. Don't do a tournament. Whoever won the regular season is your champion, and that should just be it.
I mean, hell, the Ivy League does it every year. I mean, so
they're supposed to be the smart ones.
NCAA tournament. Well, I mean, the other thing too is they need the ACC tournament to help sort out the NCAA tournament too. I mean, don't act like that isn't a major factor in the seeding and how this gets played out, because the ACC champion always gets rewarded with a really good seed. And if there's not a tournament and they decide just by the standings, and if all the other leagues do it, the ACC looks terrible, absolutely terrible. There's no chance they're going to cancel this thing.
Very true, very true. Well, next week, guys, we have spring practice to talk about, so we'll have a lot more fun next week as spring practice gets underway for Clemson next Wednesday. We'll hear from Dabo Sweeney, some players before this show. So we'll have a lot of fun next week. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. For Brad, for Jason, for Freeman, for Owen, I'm Zach Lentz. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. As always, you can check out the show. It'll be posted on the site tomorrow. And look, we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Have a good night.